Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to New York's Business Podcast. My name is Jacob Restituto. I'm the host and owner of Restituto Media, a photography, videography company here on Long Island. So today we are here in Oyster Bay at Blue Water Spa with Rachel Lozina. You have two locations. You have the Oyster Bay location and the Southampton location, which is where I originally met you. But today we're in Oyster Bay, so I appreciate you taking the time to come on. And
thank you for having me.
I'd love for you to introduce yourself, hear a little bit about your story, and we'll.
Sure. So I am Rachel Lozina. I am a licensed esthetician, and I've been doing aesthetics for 22 years now. I have Blue Water Spa in Oyster Bay, and that is going on its 17th year. And I just opened up Southampton, and that we opened up in May. So brand new, brand spanking new. So 2 locations, 17, actually more like 22 employees now. And 17 years in business, 22 years esthetician. What did I miss?
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations on opening the new spa. Let's get right into it. How do you know, you're 17 years in business here, how do you know when you're ready to open a new location, especially one kind of pretty far, what is that, it's 80 miles away?
It is. It's really actually far. I felt like I grew as big as I possibly could here in Oyster Bay. We have 13 treatment rooms and we're pretty busy. And I just felt like, okay, like I can't till this soil anymore. I have overworked it and I have done it and I have built it up, and now I can kind of leave a little bit, and I can, it is a self-contained business and it runs on its own. It's a well-oiled machine. So I was lucky enough to save up some money. And I was like, okay, what do I do? And all of my clients were begging me to open up another location out east. And everybody was just lamenting that there's no other really good skincare place out in the Hamptons. And I said, okay. But really, when I went out there and I saw the location, I said, this is actually a great location. And that's really what compelled me to open up number 2. I mean, it's not easy, but.
Now, you have an interesting story on something that kind of compelled you in Southampton. You were at your friend's store, right?
Right.
What's the?
So there's the Drew Barrymore story, right? So the story goes is that when I went out there to go look at the space, I said, okay, this is great, but it needs a lot of work. And then, my friend, one of my best childhood friends, manages a store called Colette, which is a furniture consignment store. And I went to go visit him, and I was like, give me the whole skinny on the Hamptons. Do I do it? Do I not do it? What do you think? What are other places are out here? What's my competition? And when I said, what other spas are out here, this woman starts, locks eyes with me and starts walking towards me. And I'm like, oh my God, I know this lady. Like, this is a client of mine, right? Like, and she just walks up to me, and then she goes, oh my God, are you thinking about opening up a spa? And I said, yeah, actually I am. I'm thinking about opening a place right here in Southampton. And she was like, you need to open up out here. And I'm like looking at this lady and I'm like, holy shit, that's Drew Barrymore. And Drew Barrymore is giving me this whole song and dance about what other places are out here and why I should open up, because I had already explained to her who we are, what we do, what we're all about. And she goes, this is a totally green area for you. You have to open up. Like, come. And I said, okay. And I spent the whole ride home, the whole hour and a half home, looking out the window going, shit, like, am I really gonna do this? And really feeling compelled to do it.
What are some of the drawbacks of opening a second location?
So the drawbacks of opening up a second location, it's incredibly hard to be in 2 places at once. And it's almost like doing this, you're doing 2 things at once, and you're in tandem managing 2 locations and managing the staff. I also feel a little bad about Oyster Bay. I felt like I left Oyster Bay behind, and I wasn't really there as much because I was opening up the second location. I'm gonna be completely honest. Opening up the second location was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life. And it wasn't that it's hard to do what I do, but to start fresh. When I opened up this location, I started out slow and small. I started out with 2 treatment rooms, and then I built to 4, and then I built to 7, and then I, slowly piled it up. The other location, I had 5 rooms running out the gate, 5 massage beds ready to go, a big retail area, the investments of all the machines and the products and everything. It was incredibly difficult. So, my advice is to make sure that you have everything really like a well-oiled machine in the first location, so you really can leave it behind or have a fantastic manager like I do.
How do you structure your employees here? Or are they considered employees? Are they considered staff? Are they considered contractors? Do you actually keep them on the books, or is it more of like a W-9 at the end of the year?
So I'm a very different entrepreneur and employer in that capacity. In the beauty industry as a whole, most people are 1099 employees. They're independent contractors. I do not do that. I pay everybody's an employee here, and everybody gets a W-2 paycheck. I pay all of my girls hourly, and we're not a commission-based business. So that's for a few reasons, but the number one reason why we don't do commission is it gets very competitive and catty. And when you're in the service industry, you don't want people being catty or really pushing you to buy something maybe that you don't need, right? So if I really felt like a cream was the best thing for you or a treatment was the best thing for you, you're not getting commission on that. We're paying you based on your sales and your skill set and your retention rate. And I feel like when clients realize that it's not commission based, they're like, wow, I really, you're not getting a slice of this moisturizer that you're selling me. I really do need this. And it just also takes all the drama out of it. In addition, it also gets very competitive. Clients are like, oh, well, I want to see so-and-so. And so-and-so's like, well, that's my client. And you're like, actually, it's not. It's the spa's client, right? Because this place, no one would be working if the spa was not in profit.
And not doing the commission base gets rid of that competition.
Correct. It gets rid of the competition because if, say, you want to come in and you want to get a massage, but then you also want to do something else, like, get your back waxed, right? We could have two people come in and work on you at the same time, and it wouldn't be like, well, I only want to do all the stuff on you, right? Yeah. So we can really tag team the client, take care of the client's needs right now instead of asking them to come back at a later time when that other person is available. We're doing what's best for the client now, not what's best for that person's pocket or that person's paycheck.
So are all the employees essentially trained to do everything?
So we have different segments of people that work here. We have estheticians, we have massage therapists, we have an acupuncturist, and we have a laser technician. So everybody is within their skill set and nobody gets commission.
You mentioned that there's 17 or 22, depending on how you look at the employees at the moment. Are they all working at the same time, or how does that work?
On busy days, yes, they work all at the same time. So there is a lot of people here, and there's a lot of people that hang out in the staff room and scarf down their lunch in between appointments, right? Yeah. But typically the most we'll have in one location is about 17, and that's typically on a busy Saturday.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, essentially they get hired for a certain amount of months or they get booked. I don't know how you want to consider it, but for a certain amount of hours every month, and that's just their paycheck based on who's available. Like, what if you have no bookings? Are they still getting paid, or you?
Correct. Do so we pay people based on their skill set right off the bat. And whether they're working or not, they get their hourly, right? So a brand new esthetician that has zero skill set and just a basic out of school, doesn't really understand the industry, doesn't have all of the capabilities, we're going to give them a low hourly. And as they become more proficient and more skilled and they learn more about the industry and they learn how to do additional services like waxing, like advanced facial techniques, then we start increasing their hourly, right? And then what we do is every year we kind of, bring them in and we take a look at where they are, where they want to be, what they need to do to get there. And it's a very open conversation about what their worth is. Also, we look at their retention, how much they're bringing in and how much they're retaining those clients based on a 60-day, 90-day, statistics.
Yeah. But how is your employee retention rate?
Employee retention rate is actually really decent because I feel like there's a lot of people in my industry that are solo. And a lot of people will go to aesthetic school and they'll come out of aesthetic school and they will go right into a solo suite, or they'll rent their own room and they'll work their business on their own. That is not for everybody. Some people really enjoy working in the group setting and working with a team. And we have a very team-centric mentality here. It's all about the team. It's all about the client. You're in the business of service, and a deep service, like an emotional service, right? This is not me handing you your food. This is a really deep relationship building, right? So retention rate is high because people really like being a part of the family and they love doing what we do. And they also, I feel like when you work for me, I give you a lot of artistic freedoms and I let you do pretty much what you want to do, within reason, of course. But I'm not like a crazy, employer. I'm not up your ass every 5 minutes, but there are certain things that I expect you to do. I definitely don't like when people sit around, that's for sure. But retention rate is pretty high. Most of the people that stay with me for about 7 years.
Wow.
Yep. And then typically they'll go off on their own and open up their own place. Wow.
So my follow-up is a perfect answer to my follow-up question, because based on what I've noticed and what I've seen in conversations I've had with this podcast, but also without, just in business, it's definitely the people that are willing to take the upfront cost, but putting their employees first. They don't like. It's funny how the business works, the branding works. People are often like, oh, I don't want to spend the money up front for the employee because it costs money, and what if they don't stay? Mm-hmm. But in the reality is, when you spend that money up front and when you care about the employee and not necessarily about you put people over profit, right, instead of profit over people, it actually pays off dividends in the end. And right, for you, 7 years is a great retention rate for an employee. Like, that's huge. I don't think most businesses, maybe corporate America, but like the average service industry, right, probably 2 or 3 years, if that. Yeah. But for example, restaurants, high turnover rate. And it's interesting. I do a lot of video work for restaurants, and it's interesting to see like the different dynamics in restaurants. And I just interviewed somebody a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how much they care about the employees and how the environment they want in the family, and how employees eat free all the and I was like, that's crazy. Like, right, I've been to so many restaurants where it's like, oh, 30% off. It's like, cool, but you're still paying $27 right, for lunch, Right. But for eating free every day, it's like, all these little things, like that's definitely a cost that you have to add in. But like, absolutely, the cost of hiring a new employee is also very expensive, right, and it's really interesting when you put your employees first and actually care about them over the long term, over the short term dollar. It pays off in the long term.
Well, what I do a lot is I vet them out. So when I interview and then hire somebody, I usually will make them work at the front desk and get to see if I like them, get to see if they blend well, get to see how they interact with everybody else. And keep in mind, because what we do is a licensed skill, right? I feel like the people that do it, you can tell right away who's going to stick with it and who's excited and enthusiastic about it, versus the person that's like, oh, I just, decided to go to school and get this, do this for a little bit, but never really sticking with it. Restaurants are a little different because most people don't dream of being a waitress their whole life, or a waiter, right? And the idea of career waiters is something that, our parents kind of grew up with, but I feel like people typically will work in restaurants to hold them over while they're going to school as a stepping stone to their next career. So I feel like the retention rate is lower depending on what it is you're actually doing, but it's hard to, the equipment of what we offer, the machinery, the space, the beds, the products, all of that, it's very expensive to start out, so a lot of people like working, and also I think what we have is really great. So, they're used to having high levels of nice massage beds and nice linens and nice products to work with, and the ability to kind of pick and choose. And it's almost like cooking, it's like you get to pick all the spices and decide what you want to do. And there's a lot of artistic freedom. There's a lot of art in aesthetics.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you, when you started out, and also as you've been here for 17 years, you've created your business, you've created this brand, and now this brand has branched out. How did you get your name out in the community?
So keep in mind that when I opened up in 2008, Facebook was like a college thing, right?
Sure.
It wasn't even, nobody was thinking about it for business quite yet. There was, just look at me and let's look at my high school girlfriend, that kind of stuff, right? So in 2008, I opened up my business right in when the housing market, the market crashed, right? So the market crashed, and literally I opened up my business that month.
Wow.
It's kind of a crazy, but some people will tell you it's a good time,
Sure,
but that's when I opened up my business. I was still advertising, or when I opened up, we were advertising in the Yellow Book.
Wow.
Like, way to make me feel old, but we were. Advertising in the Yellow Book was still a thing.
Yeah.
Because people weren't even going online for that kind of stuff quite yet. They were, but Not really. It wasn't like what it is today,
Sure.
right? Like the iPhone wasn't even out yet.
Yeah, probably around then.
Or
if
it was. Like I think it came out in 2007.
And maybe it had internet,
Right. But anywho, I put it in my own hands. I really wanted to learn everything about it. So I did a lot of SEO work. I tried to figure out what I needed to put in my website. I did a lot of it on my own. I read a lot of blogs about, SEO, how to get in SEO rankings. I worked with a company called HubSpot for a while, which when they were like really tiny, and they rated your website based on how quickly a page loads or how often that word pops up, right? So sometimes, when you see a paragraph and it's like Long Island, Blue Water Spa, Long Island's best spa, and relax in Long Island's best spa, and you hear those words over and over again. It's because you want to rank for however times you write Long Island best spa is what's going to populate into the rankings for Long Island Spa, right? So that's where my mind went, and I really wanted to learn a lot about it. And then eventually we started doing a tremendous amount of AdWords. Now we have a huge machine where we're spending tens of thousands of dollars, every year, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in advertising. Whether that's Google AdWords or Facebook, Instagram ads, and then we do the whole funnel, right? So, we have the pop-ups and we give them an offer and they need to fill it out, and then it goes into the funnel, and then we have to respond to, we have a AI now. We have Avery, our AI girl. And Avery is very good, by the way. Like, some people will have full-blown conversations with her and have no idea that she's AI.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. So, we have an AI girl, but sometimes, I'm like, what are you talking about, Avery, right? But, we have the whole funnel, and that's how you got to do it. And you got to just put money behind it. And it's almost like, I hate to compare it to Lance Armstrong, but like Lance Armstrong was dosing because everybody else was doing it. And it's like, you have to, if you want to be competitive, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to do that as well. You have to spend money on SEO. It's going to be very hard to compete without it, unless you just have an amazing social media capability. You're in your you're 30 years old, and every 5 minutes is this, and you're just really good at posting about yourself, which I am not. But there's that entire generation that is like amazing at social media naturally because it's just part of who they are. Not me. No. But did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And my last question for you is still related to branding, talking about how spas can kind of go into the high end, price range of things. And I'm curious, you have the Pradas, but you also have the Walmarts, and your brand leans more towards the Prada, the more high end. How did you decide, and how did you brand yourself as that, and as opposed to when there's a market for something, but sometimes people just aren't interested. So how do you brand as that kind of business?
I think that the one thing I will say about being an entrepreneur is it's not really a choice. And when you end up being an entrepreneur, it's truly something that is a calling, right? So because it's a calling, when you start out doing what you're doing, you do it because you feel like what you have is something special.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you have no other option. You can't work for somebody else.
You can't work for somebody else because they can't listen to what you're telling me to do because I know better, right?
Yeah.
So I will say that when you do what you do, and you know what you're doing, and you want, like I said, back to that cooking analogy, right? You're like, I really want to add this spice to it. And you're like, no, we don't only use these spices. And you're like, but if we added this, it could be really interesting, right? And that's the ailment of being an entrepreneur, is knowing that what you're doing is different. And so when I looked at the market, I knew that I wanted to do result-driven facials. And there's, you've heard me say this before, but for, the people that have it, I feel like in my industry, it's very much fluffy facials, resorts, massage lotions on your face, and you walk out and, you feel good, and it was more of like a massage, but for your face. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the plastic surgery route. You have the lasers, the injectables, the crazy stuff that happens with your face. And I said, where's the in-between? Where's the result-driven facial? that doesn't really require a lot of downtime, but can physiologically change your skin. And that's really what I wanted to niche and focus on. So.
That's great. Well, Rachel, I really appreciate you taking time.
Thank
I know
you.
you got to run out of here, so thank you. And we'll catch you next time. Definitely check out Rachel's Spa, the 2 locations, Southampton and also Oyster Bay. So check them out, Blue Water Spa. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Peace out.